Um, this panel is dedicated to co-production in filmmaking, and we have 4 guests. We have Dmitro Sukhanov, who's the head of Association of Film Industry of Ukraine. He's the producer of Toy Pictures and Toy Cinema. We have Davід Вашадзе, who's a film commissioner, and he's the head of exports and distribution at the Georgia National Film Center. We have Olga Besmenitsina, Ukrainian producer, and the executive director of Foundation of Cultural Diplomacy, UART. And we have Caroline Henkel, a film producer as well. And today, once again, we're going to talk about co-production and how it works. And we're going to go through basics to more advanced topics. And I would like to open this discussion by asking you, which countries are the best co-producers for Ukraine at the moment? You decide who wants to start and who has anything to say, and I really prefer this to be a discussion. So we have the skeleton of questions, but I'd love this to be more of a relaxed conversation. So,
yeah, maybe we can start because it's from Ukrainian point of view. And first of all, yeah, thank you for opportunity for practice in English because it's really few last year. But yeah. I think with Ola we can start to talk how it looks from Ukrainian side, and maybe our foreign colleagues could tell opposite point of view. But okay, definitely, like we are in a festival, and the festival is kind of type of films that have a goals to be in the festivals. It's kind of after kind of films, talent rolling. Yeah. There are another like commercial type of films, and I think for these 2 different categories, really 2 different directions of co-production. In general, if you're talking about European model and the co-production, that for the films that more culture-wise, more important for talent. Like incubation, yeah, something like this. And for this point of view, Ukraine part of European Convention for co-production, and we have a direct treaty with really few countries. I think with Canada and with Israel, and that's it for now. There are a few in discussion, but not signed yet. So in legal area, we have opportunity to work with a lot of countries, like European Union, quite huge, and combination with Canada is also open the gate with American countries. But when you tell like what is the best, I think it really depends on the project, because every co-production that based on cultural reasons have co-production have 2 senses. You know, it's not only co-financing, but it's also cooperation by cultural reasons. And if you take a look on conventional medicine, there are cultural points. And if there are like country co-produce and co-finance some project in a ratio like 30%, 70%, more or less the same ratios should be for cultural points as well. So like if Ukraine majority, they should have a majority cultural points in the projects. And it's actually really give us such type understanding what is a co-production. But I think there could be projects that interesting to unite countries in Balkan region, or there could be co-production with Poland, or there could be like co-production with Benelux countries. It really depends on the project or on talent, or what is your goal. Like what type of the film and where is your audience, and what type of the festival you have as a target, because that's actually give you a focus what kind of co-producer you're looking for.
okay, so if we talk about the 2 types that you mentioned, you have the like auteur cinema, and then you have commercial films. In terms of, let's say, commercial films, who would you place as the best? I know it's not very modest, but still.
I wouldn't like keep microphone in all the discussion, but shortly answer, I think Great Britain could be the good kind of gate in like between culture and commercial reasons. We can make a co-production with BFI easily, if you find like some commercial interesting site in UK, you can do it. And with America is a little bit more complicated because there are no direct treaties and there are no like you can mix private money, but there are no about cultural funds and public money, something like this. But there are no direct possibilities. There are possibility to organize it through Europe to have like America as a third investor party. But if we talk like classical co-production, I think we still, for commercial reason, it could be Great Britain if you have kind of global project, or for Benelux country, France is also a good co-producer for many reasons, and even good French co-producer could help you with the distribution, with find a good sales agent, and with all your box office success at the end. Even if you talk not about mainstream project, but about really like art house project, it could have a profit. And if you talk about like some audience that maybe have the same feeling of humor or feeling of senses, that you could make kind of art mainstream projects with like comedy or drama comedy or something like this. I believe that good combination with Ukraine could be Poland or East Europe, that more or less we can find the same pattern of the stories that different culture understand more or less the same way. So that's different ideas. Yeah. And I pass.
I'm totally agree with you. I may just add that it also could be countries of Еврімаш, so they are members of Еврімаш. If in your co-production you are going to submit your project to apply to Еврімаш, so you may choose from this country. From my experience, it's also very important to co-produce with countries, not countries, with a producer from countries with a common cultural, mentally they are common and mentally for Ukraine. For it could be Baltic countries. It also could be our neighbors, Georgia, Poland. So if your co-production is your first project in this kind of filmmaking, it's better to start with somebody who you know, with who you may do a really good connection.
Then
I can also add. So just generally speaking, I will say from the point of the view of Georgia, the most comfortable co-production country is probably France, as a leading of European cinema. But generally, co-production is coming, of course, from the story, if we are talking about art house movie. And yes, with those countries which more understand your culture. These are mostly neighboring countries. But we also had experience of co-production with Benelux countries, and like culturally maybe Georgia and Benelux countries does not have so close connections, but that's actually understanding of European cinema. It does not mean that so that's how the European funding systems are built. So to work with each other, maybe very remote countries from each other can work together. And here, of course, foundations are very important. Eurimage is a most important fund, and Creative Europe. We also have the same situation as Ukraine. We are not full members of Creative Europe, and it took such a long time to become full member and to have access on the most of the funding in media, in film, which are available there. We are now using, and probably you also, only exhibition funding and festival funding, but then there will be like co-production funding open. So my idea is that country has to do everything from governmental perspective to open all the doors from for its private sector, for producers, and then you can find partners everywhere, I think, in Europe.
Yeah, I would agree with everything. I just can add, I think it's important to put the project first and see what makes sense, to see what cooperation is the best for the project, and not, of course, budget-wise, it's always important to see how you can gather your overall budget, but I think it should be the most important to see what makes sense for the project and for the film. And sometimes it's, I think it can be to have a co-production between two countries that are not culturally so close can be an enrichment for the project as well. Can be very, make sense to have these different perspectives on topics. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned the criteria that you select the countries for. It's the closeness of cultures and outlook, budget, locations. What else is important when you seek for partners and co-productions in other
think
countries?
financial reasons. It's also every co-production money has its own cost. For example, like you can ask for like 300,000 euro in Germany, or you can ask 300,000 euro in Slovenia, and you can get more or less for the same amount of money. You can have more or less for your project in terms of local production cost or possibility of local producers or whatever. But at the end you have, I totally agree, it's a producer, kind of lead producer who initiates this co-production. Usually it's majority part. And it's a first task to have this creative financial combination. So this is producer combination that you analyze what is your project, what is your talent pool, where is the gap and where is the interest for cultural reason, for financial reason, what is your ideas, how to combine, where you shoot, what you can bring for the post-product. If you have animation project, is another planet. But at the end, to have this kind of creative combination of all the resources and creativity points, that's a key producer's goal. And all the projects are different.
Anybody else has anything to add?
Next question.
The question comes from what you just mentioned, budget. How does it work? How do you negotiate? What are the rules? How much does it depend on the project? So based on your experience.
I'm not a producer, but I can say. So maybe the same is with Ukraine. First of all, project has to have financing at home. So first of all, it's important to get national funding. In that case, you are more interested for other co-producers. But here, of course, it depends with which country are you trying to get extra financing. Yeah, if you are working with France or Germany, you can get more financing from there. But then co-producers' fee is much higher in that case. And maybe you can, your money, let's say, money which you've got in Ukraine is more valuable than the money you've got, the same amount you've got in Germany, because prices are different. For 300,000 in Ukraine, maybe you can finish all the production, and the same amount can be needed for post-production in Germany. So it depends, and I think that's an answer. But if you work in, let's say, if Georgia and Ukraine are working as a co-producers, so it might be an equal, the cost of money, I mean.
And I think what is important to it, because every co-production is not about how to produce a film, it's also about how to distribute it. Because every co-production partner gives you opportunity for distribution. And it's really important to understand, like, is a country just good co-production partner for just money reason, logistic reason, or it's also the place where your audience is. because it's important. At the end, okay, why France is good? Because France is kind of core of the most success sales agent in all Europe. And if it's, of course, there are very well developed cinema network, culture of visiting cinemas and everything. That's like if you find some French producer and French distribution and the international French sales agent, it's good for project. Even if producer fee is higher and there are like maybe many complications in French kind of law system, but there are many sources of how they could co-finance. And if they have very like experienced French producer, they can go like some one fund that compensates you taxes, another fund that give you a possibility for develop, another fund that support non-French language films. So there are like many. In Ukraine, you have just 1-2 funds that not really like diversified enough, and for type of supporting and for like amount of sources. And France is a very well developed system. Like if you have a French producer, you can probably have at least 4 or 5 sources for development, production, for like pre-sale, MG or something. It's give you like good potential for the film's career, and that's important. Yeah, what else? It's kind of, but it's really like there are no like good countries and bad countries for the film. For the co-production, it really depends on the project, and every country has its own system. There are like David told that, like for example, Germany, if you have not really good experience co-producer with in German, you can probably have one fund, like federal fund, and it give you like 200,000 euro, but you have obligation to spend 20% more. So you need to import some money from abroad to Germany. It's not really equal. And for good combination, you need to combine federal and regional funds, and they have to need more experienced producer for this. But it's kind of like general, I think the producer need to be more or less understand how the system works in different countries in general. And then it's also the question of where you find a good partner that probably you should know already each other and trust each other, so you can pitch easily your ideas and hit a line. Like I like it as well, so let's do it. So it's also the question of people connections, you know, not only country connections. Because sometimes you prefer to go this country because you prefer this producer, and personality is important. Okay. At the end, you spend together a few years. The way of the co-producers, it's kind of like not 1 month deal. It's about like a few years in discussion and communication. You need to discuss who is responsible for what, who is have what kind of decision, and it's sometimes it's much more important how comfortable and how reasonable you do all this way together than how much money you have.
Let's come back to the budgeting. So it's really one of the important part of the co-production. At the beginning, you should answer you really clear how much costs your project. So if you need more money or less, if you can minimize your cost and you don't need co-production. Only after this, you may start think about your financing plan and possible co-production. It's really important to understand it will be majority or minority co-production, who will be the lead producer. And also very important criterion, it's how to combine money and time. So if you need more money, you will spend more time for funding funding from different countries. So it depends of kind of your film. If you need to film quickly, it's not about big budget and to involve a lot of co-producers, because it's really have to be you should have a lot of time for this. So answering of all these questions at the beginning will help you to go to the budgeting and to think, is it a good idea or not? So also really important, answer yourself about creative components of co-producer. It's not only about money, it's not only financial co-production, it's also creative co-production. So how can if it's Ukrainian director, work with the people from other countries? Who it will be? What kind of criterion of choosing these people? So it's really important at the beginning, start with this.
Okay. How much does it make a difference if you have a co-production between 2 countries, or let's say 4 countries? Does it help because you're responsible for a smaller chunk of production, or does it make things much harder because you need to negotiate with all parties?
I would say, of course, it makes it always a bit more complicated to have more people attached. So it can be an advantage to have smaller budgets in each country. But I think its co-productions are itself complicated. A lot of communication, a lot of trust, and you have to have a very clear structure of the involvement and who has like the last decision, I think, and still you have to share the same vision and to make it work well. And I think the more people, the more complicated it gets. But sometimes it's the only way, of course, to be able to produce a film. Sometimes it can't be done in another way. Yeah.
So my advice is, if you would like to start to do a production project, it's better to start probably with something simple as a documentary between 2 countries. So you will understand how it works. In the next steps, it could be short fiction, or in many countries co-production, minority co-production. So when you do just a small part of the project, but at this moment you see how it works, you receive experience from lead producer, you understand how system work, and only after this you may start to be lead producer or organize multi-country co-production, especially when you decide to apply to Евромаш or something like this. So each next level, it's much complicated. So let's start from the easiest.
What about legal issues? How do you face those, and how do you resolve those? Because you mentioned that different countries have different laws, and how do you find common ground and basically come to a peaceful decision of how things operate legally?
It's actually all the national law system connect each other with the help of convention, because convention is something that unites different system of laws. But of course there are could be some issue really, because if you co-produce with Great Britain, for example, they national institutes, they count ratio, for example, in Ukraine and I think rest of Europe except Great Britain, they evaluate amount of fundraising in the country as to understand what is the percent of this country co-produce part. And in Great Britain, they evaluate spending in Great Britain, not rising. So, and it's at the end of the film you can count that it's a different ratio if you do different system of counting. So, but there are many things. Of course, you every site should be supported with experienced international lawyer who understand international point of systems, because in Ukraine we have a Magdeburg system of law, and in especially Anglo-Saxon world they have another system. I don't remember what is there, but and it's make a difference in using of the rights. Where there are so much for example what is the moral rights that it doesn't exist these terms in Ukraine, and it's many things, but it's in details. In general, in general, I think such like direct treaties or convention, it's give you majority answers about how to co-produce, what kind of document should be, and how it is. And yeah, all system works like if you combine public money, yeah, that's the public institution. They just connect each other to confirm that this is all the sites exist, the money in place, and you can sign co-producers agreement, and you can start. And then at the end, the same way you report to your national institute, and they report to their national institute, and you close the project. That's it.
Have you had in your experience, and it's a question to everybody, an issue that was very hard to resolve and you had to negotiate until you found the common ground in co-production projects?
So my last project, it's a 5-country co-production, and Ukraine was the last country who have been involved in the process. And the question for us was that all countries already work with and ratified the last one, European Convention, and Ukraine still work with the previous version. So it's a really, really difficult legal questions. So we find with our, so in this project we have independent European legal company who help us to resolve this question. We find the decision how to do this, but yeah, for our countries it's also the question to be in the same right place with all the countries, because different convention, it's really quite difficult to work because we cannot explain them why it's happened.
Yeah, it's I just help you because like there are like issues, it have a different minimum involvement requirement from each country, and new convention have this requirement less. So, but if there are one of the 5 sites come with the only old convention ratification, all the country agreement should be re-regulated again for the old style of convention to be in the same laws. And it's like break sometimes deals that's already made before. So and they say, okay, like maybe Ukrainian is not so good idea to be part of this co-prof because they still use old convention.
What do you do? Do you press the government? Do you press the law system to ratify it? Or?
Yes, of course. Yeah, we do it every day. Yeah, we speak with government. Yeah, but it's just not quick process. Of course, yeah, there are some changes happen, but all the changes in the law are kind of like if you need something to be happens in parliament, it's not quick. Yes.
Okay. Caroline, maybe anything?
We worked on a French-German-American co-production that unfortunately couldn't be finished because of a medical situation of the director, and so for us it was really the film was already shot nearly entirely. And there's a huge, it's a legal difference between France and Germany, that in Germany it would have been possible to edit the film and then get a final agreement from the director if she accepts the film as it is. And it's not possible in France because, of course, the author and the director is really protected, what makes sense in the end, I think, but we were obliged to finish the film, of course, because of funds, and it was an insurance case, and so it wasn't a problem for us in the end. But it was, of course, a huge discussions with everyone involved how to deal with this, because I think it's good how it's handled in France, this protection, but still, if you have the if you're responsible for the budget and if you have to finish the film, it's interesting to discuss the different views and how it's made. And we weren't aware actually, because it's really quite different, the law situation in France and in Germany. Yeah, so that was, I think, our biggest obstacle so far. But it went well. Everybody agreed in the end, and it was for every side. It was okay, I think. Yeah, but it was a long and intensive discussion altogether.
I have a change of topic about unions, and this might be a silly question, but how much of a part does it play when you talk about co-production? And let's say United States, a very strong union system, and sometimes, you know, it can be an obstacle. So the question, can it really be an obstacle, or it doesn't really matter? If you've faced that.
Just none of us is American. No, it's actually, I don't know, like in Ukraine, union, it still doesn't have really basement in the law system and in practice, because normally people unite in front, just in front of some pressure, in front of some problems, or just kind of cartel deals, like let's cost not less than, yeah, such amount. And but it's not really unions, you know. And it's if you tell like, oh, there are like some directors union exists, there are some technical lighting crew union exists, or something like this. It's mostly about to protect fees and terms of deals, but there are no about like to achieve some high standards or to have common responsibility, because it's really like much more complicated task. And I think Ukraine is still a little bit wild in such terms to be ready to create their own union, because it will be on such like for now it could be a little bit over-regulated, you know. It's a little bit early, but definitely yes, we have to create maybe like associations, maybe then some kind of common regulations or common discussion. Like look, in front of the COVID problem, all of us was completely and quick develop all the instruction and things, and everybody was agreed like, okay, let's do it. And like everybody on a shooting place, we know how to communicate, what's the distance, what is the rules, blah, 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 because it's there was no other way. But in Ukraine, the people were in real like market regulate most of the questions. Like if there are growing market and you have much more work than educated and experienced people, that prices will go up. If you have less work, the prices will be dropping. But it's normally, its market is regulating everywhere, everything. But much more important to have a union, discuss not money, not prices, but to discuss rules and regulations, and about like, okay, what is the responsibility in front of each other, like what is how you can, you know, deal in between yourselves, what is your minimum requirement for this profession, like what is the minimum requirement to be gaffer, or what is the minimum requirement to be line producer. So that's important, you know, I think. To be kind of on the same level, on the same standards, and all over the world.
Anybody else? Just unions and how that impacts, and does it really impact?
It's not, yeah, it's kind of a union. I think it's very strict regulations and very strict working protection rules in Germany, and you have to adapt. So it's and you, yeah. So it's kind of difficult, of course, because you have to follow all the rules, and but it makes sense in a way, of course, but that's what makes filming in Germany a bit more expensive, I think, because you have to follow all the rules that they are, and they are very strict. But for low budget projects and especially newcomer projects, there are like exceptions from this union rules. So it's possible to pay lower wages than the union wages, actually. but you are not allowed to go under. There's like a minimum wage in Germany. Yeah, you have to follow. So it's not possible to not pay at all. So that's sometimes hard for short films, actually. But there are student short films, of course, but there's not a big professional market for short films in Germany, and I think that's because of this, because it's really hard to raise enough money to be able to pay everybody.
Okay. The next question would be, do you view co-production as a exchange of services or more of an exchange of cultures? And what is an exchange of what?
For my point of view, of course, understanding of co-production in Europe is exchange of culture, of course, and mostly it's coming from the script and from understanding from this common cinema language. So for my idea, it's exchange of culture. But if we are talking about not about art house film, but mainstream films, it can be exchange of service. It can be like choosing one or another country because of prices, because of locations, and so on. But in European culture, I think in European cinema, it's exchange of culture, I think.
I think also it's really important to be clear what is our strong part in Ukraine. So what we can share, what we can show to the world, to our or also to other co-producer, how we can push Ukrainian creative people to the international market. So our strong parts in Ukraine, it's DOP, Ukrainian DOPs. They are really good, and they work around the world in many countries, not only in the co-production projects. We are really good in VFX, we are really good in sound design question. So we need to realize what is our strong part that we can share with our co-producers. And from the other part, we should realize what we would like to involve to our project. So what kind of creative specialist from which country or we would like to show to the world our location, or goes to some other country with our creative. So it's also planned in a creative process of production, this kind of film, that you need to understand what you want to do with this project, why you need this co-production. And of course, it's cultural exchanges, of course. You help each other to know something new, some experience, some new creative ways to create the new wave in the cinema, in the cinematography.
Okay. So you've touched upon the topic of Ukraine and its strong sides. The question is, what are the things that Ukraine could improve? We're not talking about, in a negative light, but more as an opportunity to become a better production country and a co-production country. And if you have experience of working.
It is not non-stop process. There are many things to improve every time. Now, in the past, or in the future, we doesn't have to stop one moment and tell, there are nothing to improve anymore. No, it's a very dynamic world. Rules and level of developing of different countries give us a competition, and it's not about finance, it's about cultural competition, about to be represented in a global field. Because I think it's very important for Ukraine to have, we have already kind of good result. This is like new wave of talents with the new films, new projects that was just exposed last 3, 4, 5 years in international festivals. And I think it's our goal to support this wave and to create this kind of new Ukrainian wave as as a issue. Like, for example, like what is a Romanian movies, of new wave Romanian movies, it's now like, wow, it's kind of separate style of the films that every festival is looking for, like, oh, what is the new in the Romanian side? So it would be great if all the great festivals were looking like, oh, what is the new in the Ukrainian side this year? You know, because it's that's kind of give you a voice of the culture, and it's kind of our common goal to be represented there, because then you have opposite understanding who you are and what is either some common with you or you're just alien, or because people need to understand that, like, you know, that Ukraine is such kind of people with such kind of culture, so we quite have the benefits from it, because then you can have a business, you can have a political things, based on culture, you know, all the things based on culture of the globalization. And I think this is basement. The Ukraine is a young country. It's quite strong goal to develop, because Ukraine have to rise go voice, and the same in Georgia. I think it's because Ukraine and Georgia, we have to be like more and more represented in the European society to let people understand we interesting culture with some common things that's interesting to cooperate, and these people you can rely on them. So people you can trust, you can have a co-production, you can have interesting combination of things, and combination of different culture gives some synergy and interesting result. So that's kind of things, I think. But it's a non-stop process to change something for better, because at the end, it's not about like just look for the benchmarking of the world. What is the best in Germany? Let's do it here. Or what is the best in France? Let's do it here. No, it's not obvious like this. We can develop our own system and think like, okay, what is the benefits we have? We can develop as our best proposal on culture market, you know. So that could be starting point, or you can find, okay, where is a narrow place, where is a bottleneck, let's develop it, because it's really like a headache and we cannot develop without solve this problem. So it's many things to do every time. I don't know, like will be some moment like we go, oh, it's fine, nothing to do. Yeah, I think not in my life for sure.
Talking about headaches, and it might be a very popular and banal question about cash rebates and tax rebates. I know it's a painful topic, but maybe David and Caroline, you can share your experience with the cash rebate system, how you introduced that, how much that helps, and how it operates in your countries, and then we can move to Ukraine.
Yeah. So cash rebate is one of my favorite topics, because actually, I was working on that project in Georgia during 7-8 years until the government decided to implement it, and we started in 2016, and we had 20.
I'm going to save you quickly and just...
Anybody have a glass of Georgian wine here?
No, we're talking just generally. Does everybody know what a cash rebate and a tax rebate system is?
Okay, so I will start from the basic, as we were explaining. So it was like early 2000 when I started working, and I found out that there is a system which brings foreign productions in the country. This is a cash rebate system. First, actually, it was Canada who started it to bring Hollywood productions there. This means that government is offering to foreign film productions some kind of cashback if they come to the country to shoot. Let's say we have 20 plus 5% cash rebate in Georgia. This means that if foreign company is spending $1 million in Georgia, they will get 20% as a cashback. And this is very important and very useful, because when we first went to location show in Los Angeles, some producers were coming. Actually, we were very popular because Georgia, the state Georgia, is one of the leading in cash rebate and in production. And when they were reading Georgia, they thought it's a state of Georgia. And they were asking us, do you have cash rebate in the country? And we were saying, we don't have, but we are planning to do. Okay, we will go in other places and we will pass later on your stand. So this is the first question which actually Americans are asking, if you have cash rebate in the country. And they prefer to have more cash back than to spend less money on the production. And I will explain why. So all the films in the US are structured in a way that there are investments from different companies, and they share, they have the same share of the money they invested. But cashback is the money which is coming back to the production company. So they don't need to share, this is not income for them. They don't need to share it to others. So they prefer to spend 1 million and get back 200,000 than to spend 800,000 in the same project, because this 200,000 is their own income. And that's how they are choosing countries. So according to that, we introduced this cash rebate program in 2016, and we counted in 2019, and film production turnover has increased 3 times in Georgia. So we had 3 times more money spent in film production. So after that, of course, only cash rebate is not enough. It's very important to find a unique selling point for your country, why your locations are interested. At the beginning, if we thought that for foreign productions only these beautiful parts of Georgia are interested, then we found out that Soviet architecture is also very interesting for film production. And Georgia became very popular, that Asians like Indians and Chinese were coming and shooting Europe in Georgia. Europe was shooting Asia in Georgia, or some countries where we could also double some countries. Let's say we had French movie which doubled Syria in Georgia, and recently we had a British movie. They doubled Medina. They were shooting Medina in Georgia. But of course, the most important here was to have cash rebate. But I understand it's very difficult to achieve this, and government to make this decision of cash rebate. But what I was not expecting, to keep the cash rebate, is also very important, because last year we summarized the results we've got, and we wanted to change some small parts in our cash rebate, and until that, unfortunately, we don't have a new cash rebate in place. So here I would suggest to the industry, it's always important to have a strong law as possible, because we have governmental decree, we don't have law. So changing governmental decree is much easier than changing law. And always it's better to talk with Ministry of Economics and Ministry of Culture rather than Ministry of Finance, because anyway, after this result, when let's say we had 20 million in 2016, and then it increased to 60 million in 2019, it's very difficult to prove to the Ministry of Finance that this project is very successful, because they are counting everything differently. They are comparing taxes paid from production companies versus money they received as a cashback. But yeah, and I'm very happy that Ukraine also introduced cash rebate, I think, and I hope it will work properly, and it will bring a lot of foreign productions. As a best example for us, we had Fast and Furious, Forsage, as we call it also. Fast and Furious 9 was shot in Georgia, in Tbilisi, in 2019. It was just released 2 weeks ago, and I watched the movie. Actually, final scene is happening in Tbilisi, and main avenue was actually blocked for 1 week during this production, Rustaveli Avenue, and also some other avenues. And I was very happy to see in such a big blockbuster Tbilisi and Georgia. So this will bring Americans here. I know you had a couple of American productions, but then they will be more open in coming to Ukraine for shootings.
Yeah, there is a system in Germany as well, but you have to. It's more for commercial films, or at least high budget films, because you have to hit a few requirements. So you have to have a minimum budget. It has to be over 1 million. What, of course, if you think of an US film, it's not that much, but for European art house or German art house, it's of course a kind of threshold, I'd say. And you have to have a minimum quote of money you are spending in Germany, so it can't be too less. You have to have a cultural test you have to pass, where you get points for certain things. So they want that it makes sense to be in Germany in a way. If you use motives, or if you use cast and crew or topics, or at least European motives, so that's something you have to fulfill. So you have to hit all these requirements, and they want, of course, that it is a commercial film in this way, that there is a big distributor attached who guarantees a certain big cinema release. So that's sometimes a big step as well to fulfill, because they want minimum copies as well. So it has to be a big start.
You have a cash rebate or tax rebate?
It's a cash rebate you get but it's a bit difficult as well, because they don't accept every cost, so it has to be cost in Germany, and they have to be accepted, and so normally it's and then you get money on this accepted money. It's 20% for lower budgets and 25% for higher budgets.
Okay, so from Ukrainian side, I can tell there are 25 plus 5 system. We have it in the law, but in the practice, it's only first project trying to receive it now. It's they know this.
Last Mercenary, right? The Last Mercenary.
With Jean-Claude Van Damme. This was
the Netflix one. Right?
Netflix for France, and it's for Apple III production company. Yeah, and it's the first issue, because you build all these roads through the cabinets of the ministry and people. It's just to understand how this papers works at the end. And I know, they're trying to get it, and I'm pretty sure they will have it, because it's long and heavy process, because this is the first time. It's like to build a road. And then we have a few changes in the law after that, because it's already in discussion. I know it should be more or less guarantee system for investors. It should be involved kind of escrow account as to be guarantee for investors. But it's also important, just in general, to understand what is the reason for the country to give a cashback, not only to bring great project, and the same, Minister of Finances, he told, but the production company doesn't pay such amount of taxes that to cover the cashback. But at the end, it doesn't work like this. Because, for example, Ukraine, we have some amount of money, and it's rolling in the economic system. And if during the rolling, every month, it gives some taxes to the government. It collects taxes, because every month we receive the salaries. And in 2 weeks after, we spend everything in shops. And then again, we receive the salaries, and then we spend it. Every time, somebody pay taxes on it. You pay VAT or some salary taxes or income taxes, la la. So at the end, every month, some amount of money give about 20% of it to the government. If the amount of money receive extra money from foreigners as investment to the economics, it start to bring more taxes every month. And in cascade level, in a half year, it will pay back 100% of this amount. That's why in many countries there are not 25 nor 30, there are like, I think in Iceland, something like 50% or... Сколько? 45, yeah, New Zealand 45 or something like this. And because it have a reason, because anyway, if there are like, this project doesn't give such amount of taxes immediately, but it's extra money in economics, give taxes during a few months. And this is good reason to cash back. And there are a few different systems of cash rebate. There are 4. I think there are cash rebate, tax credits, and tax shelters. And it's different countries use different systems. Cash rebate is very attractive because you receive money back, not credits, not anything else.
So you do. Let's do it on an example. So you have 1 million, just like David said. You get back, let's say, 200,000, right?
Not exactly like this. As Caroline told, it's the same. You have to go audition after that, and you have to reconfirm some amount of spending. Not every type of spending could be part of this credits. Yeah. So normally you can expect about like 90% of the budget should be confirmed, and you receive like 20, in Ukraine 25%. You should receive, not you, but your investor should receive 25% from this 90%. So back. And all process normally take about like 3-4 months. Should be.
In perfect world, yeah.
Perfect case, yeah. And in this case, you still can take this money. Of course, like American system is very profit-oriented, and production companies could take it back as a profit, and it's to be very motivated to bring the project to higher cash rebate country. But at the end, if you go in the European type of the system, you can reinvest this money to close the gap in production for the post-production, and it could be in the structure of your financial plan. And it's one of the sources how to finance your project. If you take some money, if you can spend it abroad, you bring it abroad, you receive a cash rebate and reinvest it to post-production, for example. Yeah, you can make a project because like you cannot bring otherwise any extra money. It works. And the thing is, of course, like it's mostly cash rebate working not for co-production, because to have a co-production and cash rebates, it's quite complicated combination, but possible. Complicated because many countries you cannot combine. You come to the country or to have a public money for co-production, or you spend the money and receive. In some countries you could combine, but in many countries you cannot. And I hope, like for now, in this law, you cannot combine in Ukraine. So we can co-produce or we can service. But I hope in the adaptation law, in the next generation of the law, we'll have this combination.
For this, I can add, in Georgia, we have, so from the money which you receive from the government, you can't get, of course, cash back. So it's double funding. But for the rest of money, let's say you have co-production with France, and 200,000 is from Georgia, 200,000 from France. From that 200,000, which is coming from France, you can get cash back again. So it's also to prove to the government that when we have this system, we are bringing this French money to Georgia, not spending there, but the co-producer will be interested to spend it in Georgia because they will get back this cash back. So that's what.
Yeah, it's a long way of dialogues with government, because they, it's very quick changes in the world system, and they don't really understand why we need to give back part of the money? It's strange. And then I say, yes, and then you need to co-produce and give another part of to support cultural point. What? We need to give money twice for the same project? So they don't really try to sort it out, and you need to spend the time in dialogues to understand how the money works, how the money flow, and at the end, what is the interest of the government and why Ukraine should do it as well. And it's quite, time and energy waste. But another point that David told is, of course, it's kind of attraction point to bring big global projects. And it's kind of popularization reason, because I'm pretty sure after Forsage there are many American tourists could visit Germany just to take a look. Oh, it's a nice country.
Just like Chernobyl and Kiev.
Like Chernobyl and Kiev, but Chernobyl and Kiev was 80% was shot in Vilnius.
Yeah. But still, even for 20%, imagine if you do the whole film.
But and another point, of course, there are big American crews with big budgets, big ambitions, and big goals. They bring experience to our crew, to local crews, and it's very important to have this high level of experience from people abroad, and for the big project in the big projects is possible, and then we can build unions over it, not before.
Just as an example, when Fast and Furious was in Georgia, of course, many hotels were busy, and I'm not talking about that, but all the car repairing centers were busy by that time to prepare cars for the shooting. So the money is going, touching every citizen when film is coming. Yeah, it's not just some small parts. Restaurants, food, and even car repairing centers. They got such a good income by that time that they were very happy with this. And tourism, 20% of world tourism is film tourism, actually. 1 from 5 people is deciding to travel one or another country because they saw this country in the movie. And we have great numbers from here when, Mission Impossible was shot in Sydney. Number of tourism has increased by 200%, and we have better numbers also. And so we need to understand that film, and especially using cash rebate, is bringing too much attention to the country. And what government does not understand that when they are bringing 1 million and spending in taxes, let's say 15%, why should they get back 20% or more? If not this film production would go in other country. The same case was at the final stage. I know that they were deciding to shoot in Georgia or in Kazakhstan. And by that time we had cash rebate, and it was a motivation why they decided to shoot in Georgia. In other cases, this $12 million which they spent in Georgia, they would spend in other country. Of course, no cashback would go from the budget of Georgia, but no income would come in the country. And it's very clear, and I think anyway, my suggestions to you Ukrainian colleagues to explain everything very simply, because something we think that it's understandable, but they don't understand it, and you need to go into details, very detailed information you should provide.
And I can add a little bit, because it has its opposite side. Because everything we're talking like, oh, this is good idea, let's do it, everything will be cash rebate. But in practice, cash rebate could bring a lot of projects rolling. And at the end, it could rise the market up with the prices for the labor cost, for the everything, for the locations, for everything. Yeah. And if you plan to have a national debut, it doesn't help you. And all the people who's coming with American, we say, if you're a young director, a huge service project to be shot in Kyiv doesn't help you to become director. And it's also about balance. What's the system to build in the country? To be like service-oriented, or to be national developed and co-producer, like co-production with Europe, culture-based? Because at the end, like, yeah, mainstream in American movie is cool, but what about our self-identification? Who we are we Americans, and what is the difference? And I think Ukraine still have a goal to build self-identification for the people, and it's kind of important. And rising market in such way doesn't help this goal. So, and plus now in Hello, for example, we have a few years, I don't know what going to be next year, but this year we have a support of film fund, $20 million roughly. And this is a common amount of money for cash rebates and for co-pro and for national supporting.
So basically a film budget, is that what you're saying?
For a film fund, yeah.
Okay.
It's a film state fund. And it's 20 million every year, last 4 years or something like this. And if there are, for example, two Forsage coming, you know, two Forsage coming, like 10 million budget, minus 3 million each. So up, and you have already 14 million, not 20, for supporting all other films. So I think the Ukraine need to split this type of supports, because I think cash rebates should be something out of film support and budget. It should be like not Minister of Culture goal, it should be Minister of Economy goal, because it's about investment. And that's my idea.
Actually, in Georgia, we have separated, does not touch each other. Cash rebate money is coming from the Ministry of Economics. It's economic project. It's not cultural project. The same money, of course, as low it was, as low it is even now, is for national productions. So it does not touch. It has not, should not touch each other, and should not take money of each other. But I would not. There was the same expectation in Georgia also, and fear that prices will go up and it could touch national production. But anyway, I would choose the way of cash rebate, and because industry is getting more income, and of course, price of rental for national production is different than price of rental for service, like for foreign production. And then example, we can say it has not changed. Even Romania is very popular as a filming destination, and we see how strong Romanian cinema is even now. That's that fair we also had in Georgia, but at the end of the day, we have not seen any bad results from there. Even those who were skeptical towards cash rebate and that it would increase prices and salaries, they are not. They are also supporting to the new revised cash rebate to be in place. So that's yeah. Of course, my idea is also, and I agree with you, that funding of national film is different, totally different, and cash rebate money should not come from there.
Okay. But then you talked about statistics a bit, that you said it was 20%, then 20 million rose to 60 million or something, right? So have you gotten any more analysis of how much income it brings to the country, just plain numbers, since 2016 and now in, let's say, 2020, if you have that data?
So yeah, we had, as Georgia is a small country, so we know all the productions which are coming there. So we counted all the funding which were spent in 2016 and 2019. Of course, we knew from cash rebate how many projects were there, and it was 3 times more. So it's quite accurate numbers. But we also, of course, we don't have the numbers how much effect it did to the economics of Georgia. And you were right when you were saying about this multiplication effect. Yeah, $1 investment in the country is bringing extra $5, and these are numbers we can use foreign countries because they did quite accurate analysis of film industry and this investment in film industry on the whole economy. Yeah, I think French did that. €1 from €1 investment from the country, extra €6 investment is coming there. I mean, from government, if they are investing €1, extra €6 is coming there. So the numbers were really good, but unfortunately we're still struggling with this. And of course, COVID situation touched it very strongly.
Okay. And then maybe shifting and coming back to you saying that, mentioning the negative side of the tax rebate, cash rebate system, that prices can just soar up. The question that deviates from it, and it concerns Ukraine, is how much progress do you see from, let's say, late 90s and the beginning of 2000s, when big companies started coming in and service productions like the big three, basically they got spoiled by how much money is coming. They're only interested in just simple profit. But I see more and more companies, and just like Toy Pictures, Toy Cinema as well, are now more worried about leaving a legacy and investing in projects that really matter, instead of just making money from Apple commercials. So how much of a change you see?
I'm talking about to find the proper balance. Anyway, we should develop both direction. And if you're asking from for what period? From,
let's say even 20 years. So from 2000s and up to now, how much of a development and change you see?
Yeah, but it's not connected with cash rebates.
No, it's not connected. No, it's a completely different topic.
Yeah, in 2000 was nothing.
Yeah.
Almost it was just first commercial production company, maybe two. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's there was no industry. It was kind of people who, I can do it, and then next day you are line producer. But yeah, it's like this. But now you cannot do it because it's competition in level of knowledge and experience. And if there are some foreign crews coming, you cannot tell, I have a very talented girl, let's try.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because it's now you have to be up to the expectation. Okay. The foreign crew is coming to Ukraine already, not like wild market, already with a quite experienced crews and understanding how all the system works. So you need to build it quite, but still value of amount of people in the market is not ready for huge projects. If you have one project in the same time, no problem. 2 projects, no problem. 5 projects, it will be, you will not find 3 people for any other projects, and if you need to shoot some other films and TV serials and commercials, and then you cannot find English spoken first AD or free lenses, because you can find only cheap lenses, but no anamorphotic, because all the big films book it. It's and David doesn't tell, but it's also during the peak periods, there are some Ukrainian technical crews was coming to Georgia to shoot it, because there was not enough Georgian people. And the same problem with Baltic countries, like in Estonia and Litva, there are also cash rebates, and if there are big amount of projects, they call to Ukrainian, come help. Now with COVID and travel bans, it's more complicated, but it was a problem. And let's see, because last 1.5 years, it's actually only the first steps of the big service projects that come here helps to the cash rebates. And but it was compensated with COVID problems, and the market was in low, so it was not a problem to find the people, because there was not a huge amount of projects in the market. But I hope, and everybody has been hoping, after travel ban will be not the issue anymore, and will be more or less same style of the living and producing, and as it was 2 years ago. The level of economics and production will rise. National production service of all types and the big projects could make issue, because we cannot multiple amount of specialists during the year by 2, for example. There are many young people is coming and trying, but still every crisis bring the people out of the profession as well, because people filmmaking, I go to be IT specialist, for bigger money, and it's true, and it's that's kind of things we will see. Is it I'm overpricing this problem or not? I think in a couple years we will understand, maybe early, maybe in half year we will understand that it could be a problem, that bigger projects is coming, and all the production market bring the health and value as 2 years ago, and that's short of the specialists. Shortage of specialists, shortage of possibilities where we can bring them from. Maybe we can use the Georgian just for this 1.5 year, because they don't, I think, cash rebate system on the pause. Yeah, so we can, yeah, you're true. It's kind of competition for the project, but it's also competition for the specialists and for the talents and for everything. That's market. And Kazakhstan now 30% cash rebates. So also let's see.
It's supply and demand. If demand will be higher, you will have more professionals and more people will find jobs in the film industry, I think. Maybe in some moment for just a short period, if you get many Hollywood productions, you will be so satisfied that you will not thinking about that. But anyway, the market will catch up. I think that's my idea. Then, rather than blocking something and not developing a market if the demand is so high. So we can't agree maybe on this, but my idea is anyway to have this cash rebate in place, and because local productions will also benefit from there. So maybe what's your idea on this?
Yeah, I can just, of course, talk mainly about Germany. But I realize it's a bit different, I think, because it's for domestic projects as well. So we can apply as well for this. It's a bit a different system, I think. Yeah. And that's why there's not a competition in this, maybe capacity as well, that if there's a huge project shooting normally in Berlin, that there's shortage of crew, but I never realized. And there's, of course, because of the postponing, I think there's at the moment in Germany an overall shortage of crew, because it's like all the projects from the last year are shooting right now. So at the moment, because there are restrictions, but it was always allowed to shoot, and that's why everybody is shooting like crazy at the moment. And so it's an overall capacity problem at the moment, I'd say. And because it wasn't possible, yes, to travel, so a lot of projects had to adjust and shoot more in Germany, even if they planned not to. And yeah, that's the situation at the moment.
Okay. Then maybe coming back to the co-production topic, very straightforward question: where do you actually meet partners for co-production? How COVID had an impact on it? But still, how do you do film markets, or what are the places you meet and negotiate?
It used to be film markets, of course. So it was for me it was really hard actually, and that's why I'm very happy to be here actually, because at the moment we're looking for partners in Ukraine, and so that's why I'm here mostly, because it was the first chance to really meet in person again, because it's such an intimate and based on trust to work on a co-production. So I think it's not possible to meet on Zoom or to just not see the other person in person. And so I wouldn't feel comfortable to go into co-production and haven't met ever in person. So I think that will change now. It was really hard the last time during COVID, and of course it's still a pandemic at the moment. But it's if it's more and more possible to meet again, it will be easier, because I think there's I can't imagine another way than to really meet at festivals and markets and meet in person and get in contact personally, at least in the beginning. Then of course it will be a lot talking online, but the beginning I think has to be a personal connection and a personal meeting.
So about benefits from co-production. So it's really important to realize that co-production is difficult, but when you have done the co-production project, you receive a lot of benefits. What is this? So you will receive partners in a different country. Partners, for me, it's mean producers. So people as you who help you to push your project to the international market, to the festivals, and especially awards. We have a really interesting case with our short film Anna. It was a co-production between Ukraine, Israel, and Great Britain. So what it helped for us, we have been shortlisted for our national academy in each country. So in Ukraine it was Golden Ziga, in Great Britain it was BAFTA, and in Israel it was Israel Film Academy. So it's never couldn't happen with national film. So it's really good. Also, it was really nice when we decided to do Oscar campaign for our film. So we involved money from promotional from funding from 3 countries. So it's also money and also producers who do this job. So you are not alone. You have really strong experienced partners. You may share experience. So yeah, this kind of benefits, it's really good. So.
Yeah, answering the question like where we meet each other, I think like I'm totally agree is a different type of the networking, and of course offline. It's to meet new partners in a Zoom not possible. It's you can keep your connections that you already have, but you cannot find this, common 100 people Zoom and to talk with each other. Yeah, not possible. So, and of course, there are just, it's very, very important, I agree, this is a feeling of personal contact and the chemical, and this is base of the further steps.
Then a question to all of you before we transfer the mic to the audience. And you've already partially answered the question, but how does a perfect co-production partner look like?
Except David, any of us could be like.
I would say that as well depends on the project. Actually, it's of course it's. But in general, it should be all based on a personal connection as well. So I think there has to be kind of, I once got the advice actually to, if you plan to co-produce with someone, you have to go have dinner first, because you really can recognize a person if you see how they eat and how they drink and how they would behave during a dinner. And so I think that has a truth in it, that you... it doesn't work if you don't have a personal connection in a way, I think. Even, of course, there will be conflicts and will be things happening and misunderstandings, but you have to have this trust and this sympathy in a way, I think. That's really important.
Because again, you spent together many years.
Okay. Okay, I think we have time for questions. Anybody in the audience who's ready to pose a question?
Hello. You told that you've got 20 million of the budget. What the country does the money come from? It's the question. I'm sorry. What is your name?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dmitry.
Dmitry.
What did I tell?
You told that you've got the budget of $20 million.
No.
No. Was I mistaken? It was the.
No, it's $20 million. It's not a budget. It's annual budget of Ukrainian film state fund.
Oh.
Держкіно.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All projects during the year, they spend in around $20 million. And it's cover about like 40, 50 projects, different type.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Hello, thank you for that interesting talk today. It was actually a lot of very useful information. And I have a question. I have my first feature that I'm going to produce maybe next year, and currently I'm looking for money. And the production will be in Portugal, and the story is in two languages, in Portuguese and in English. So we have some money from the city government, and we applied for fundings. And the lead actress of the film, she's not Portuguese. That's why the film is in two languages. So my question is, maybe you can like give me some advice. So I was thinking that the lead actress can be from UK or she can be from Eastern Europe. And so my question is, can it be interesting to producers from different countries? For example, I can come to Ukraine and I say, okay, I want to make my lead actress as an Eastern Europe, a girl from Ukraine, she goes to Portugal. Can this be interesting to a producer from Ukraine? Or, for example, I can go and I can say that my lead actress is German. So it doesn't like it will change a little bit in the mentality, obviously, of the actress, of the lead actress, and but the story is so international that the lead actress can be like from I don't know, from UK, from Europe, from anywhere. So do you think it can be interesting for producers?
Are you director?
Yeah.
It's actually like, first of all, to have any expertise, such kind of, any producer need to read the script to understand what is the story behind, what is a possible composition, creative composition. And yeah, it's why Portuguese, if story is so international, why it's not Odessa?
No, because I'm based in Portugal, basically, and the story, it's all about Portugal, and like the story itself, it's happening in Portugal, but it's happening with the girl who is an immigrant. So one of the themes of the story is the immigration and the life of the immigrant. So basically that's the reason the lead actress can be, like as I saying, like Eastern European, for example. So mainly my question is the co-production, like it's interesting for the producers, like why would they be interested in my project, you know? So for example, I go and I pitch to the producer, okay, that takes place in Portugal, but that's the benefits for you, like that's the benefit for like a producer, because I think that the story is so international, so like it can go to festivals and so on.
Portugal's itself is not a benefit for, except like I have really strong connection with Portuguese. Like I have very good Portuguese producer, for example, Luis, don't remember, yeah, but we was educated together in Java, so it was for me like it's very short connection, and I can ask him. But the story is in priority, because what is the story about? Is it have my personal reflection? Is it important for me as a personality? And it's important as well because I have to spend a lot of energy and time to push your story. I need to be motivated in a story. To be in a half year, in a 1 year, in a 2 years, I still have to be motivated because it's a lot of things to solve every month. And I think very important the first meeting director and producer, just to understand you on the safe wave, you understand what is to do the film, yeah, and is it your first film you told, yeah? Is it
My first feature, yeah.
So even if you have a shot or a few shots, it's very important to take a look on it, your filmography. And of course, the co-production for first films is complicated. Yeah, because all the national funds, they need different countries, whoever you would like to attach, Portugal or any other country. First of all, if you are Ukrainian, they need to have first confirmed that Ukrainian Film State Fund is supporting it. Second, they will take a look on your filmography, even if it's shots, much more precise. Is there some festival story on it or just on a shelf? Because they need to find the reason to spend public money of the country. Even if a story is great, personality of director is very important for co-production. And that's why to co-produce in co-production your second film or third film much more easy. So there are some issues, but there are some examples that debut film happens in co-production. It's possible. Maybe it will take a longer time for development, to find the proper people to develop. You can try to find it also like through development places. If you have a rough, I don't know what version of script you have. You're also a script writer, right?
So basically, yeah, I'm one of the screenwriters. I have 2 other screenwriters on board who are writing, but yeah, it's my story.
As a Ukrainian as well? Or?
No.
Oh, so it's also first creative point. You know, if there are another scriptwriter from other country, it's a first creative point. You need to take a look. Okay, maybe there a good idea to think about co-produce with this country. Let's see what is the story. Is it possible or not? And then you try to develop it with there are many international European tools. You can find a way how to you can try. Okay, if Portuguese has very good connection with France, and you can try to find this link going through some development platform. I don't know, like of course, of course.
Production funds. You can apply with your script in different co-production funds or labs, where you can develop your script in one side and also find some co-production partners. But if you are I can also give you my idea and my suggestion. If you want Western European, it's much easier to find in Baltic countries because they have separate calls for co-productions, for minority co-productions, and they are more flexible on that. I don't know, in Ukraine, do you have in Derskino separate call for co-production?
Last year we have it. I have no idea what's going to be this year.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Because in Georgian case, if you are getting funding in this minority co-production, you have to shoot in Georgia. As I understand, shooting will be in...
shooting will be in Portugal, definitely.
So from Eastern Europeans, I can suggest Litva, Latvia, Estonia are more flexible in that. And they have their during Vilnius Film Festival, they have Baltic Sea Forum. So you should send your project on that kind of, or Jerusalem Film Lab, or Trieste Film Festival also have. So to travel with the project, and then you can find some co-productions partners from there. I think.
But I think the right strategy to find the Ukrainian producer first, I think, because really, it's not, because anyway, to go in co-production with international partners, you need to receive Ukrainian support first. Anyway, yeah, and then some of the development platform, they're looking for teams. You know, like Midpoint, for example, they're looking for this scriptwriter, producer, or director. So it's but there are many opportunities international. You can find the support in your development process, and every development is also kind of opportunity for international pitching. You pitch your project in front of some expert society in Europe, and that's give you networking and connection and interest. There are some of the people could be interested to become co-producer, or just expert societies. They could just pencil your project in your mind for future and take a look, to track it, to take a look. Okay, how is going on in 1 year, in 2 years, and then become one of the side of the project, or just it could be, you know, part of the festival picker, you know, who's at the end they told, oh, I remember this project 2 years ago in a pitch session in Torino Film Lab. So let's see, maybe there are some work in progress. I can take a look, and it happens because it's all the projects who develop with all the platforms. It's kind of promo, first promo of the project, of the talent in all this creative society.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello. Thank you for the information that you've provided today, and I've got 2 questions. So the first one, is there any financial instrument or institution that would provide equivalent financial trust between 2 participants?
Could you repeat again, please?
Okay. So, is there any financial instrument or a company that would provide equivalent financial trust between 2 participants?
What do you mean equal international
Like
trust?
Equal financial trust.
Trust.
Yes, trust. Довіра.
You mean kind of fund? Equal fund?
Yes.
Equal to what? No, it's you can ask Ukrainian or Russian. Maybe we'll understand you better.
Существует ли какая-то институция по типу как фонда, там, европейское какое-то объединение, которое как платформа объединяет кооператоров разных стран? И, возможно, например, без каких-либо финансовых переводов обеспечить какой-то процесс съемочный в том или в другом регионе. В этом смысл.
Yeah, okay, I will answer in English. Yes, the whole co-production based on the possibility that all sides in co-production, they raise a funding amount they spend in its own country. Of course, you can pay a little bit from one country to another one, but in general, if there are 3 countries, all of the sides go to the fund, local fund, and receive money to spend in their country. It's classical. In reality, of course, it's more complicated. So you can produce a film without transfer money from one country to another country. Was question number 2, right?
В общем.
Okay. In general, yes. If there are some systems that unite all the co-producers, no. No, internet. In general, you can Google general tools, but networking is very, it's a huge society, and there are no one system that unite all of them. It's just for example, you can find some of the people on Sinando. Sinando is kind of platform that kind of social network for the festival visitors, and you can find some people in I don't know, some projects of festivals. You can find Festival Scope, platform. a lot of training, not training, education programs supported by Creative Europe, like Java, Midpoint, Less is More, like Cine Foundation, one in not Klinkov, in Berlin, как называется? Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's a lot of different development platforms that unite speakers and teachers who develop the program of educations. And that's kind of core of experienced people. So you can find them on website of this, on these platforms of this possibility. If you go to some festivals, you can find a jury, but there are no one catalog. You can find all of them. No.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay.
Thanks. Which qualities should the film have for a producer to be interested in it? Like the plot, the story, like if it like just personally relates to a producer, some experience of the director, maybe something else?
Yeah, of course. First of all, the script, I would say, and a kind of a personal connection. But it's, but I don't know if it has to be a connection. It has to, I don't know, like I don't know if it's the right expression, but ring a bell to speak to you in a way, and that's just, of course, my personal view. But to see a possible way, of course, to make it happen. So to see this, and of course, like the if it's a debut, it's sometimes hard. But normally, of course, there are short films you can watch so that you can see how the previous work was, and then you can better, I think, and references, of course. So if you want to make it possible to feel the atmosphere or the aim, and to talk about it, yeah, I think that's a way to get to know each other and to see if there's a common view on the story, on the project.
Thanks. And one more question, like. The classical co-production is about governmental resources, right? And what about private finances, like maybe some investors?
You can mix. There are no, it's not prohibited. It's you can mix. There are two different type of how investor could give you money. It could be just private investment, and they receive the money back plus interest, and they doesn't pretend for the copyrights. Or they become a co-producer and have a part of copyright, but they don't receive money back, only from box office, from release of the film.
What would you advise to find a producer in another country for him to search for investor, or just to look for investor by yourself, like just abroad?
Again, it's a structure of financing of the film. It's a question of who's your audience for me, yeah. Because I think first of thing you think, okay, who's my audience? Is it mainstream? Is it a festival? Is it what countries? What's the good geography? And then it give you answer where to find your partners for the financing and what the type of money you need to attach.
Thanks.
Any more questions from the audience? Okay. I think we can wrap up. Thank you very much for this very detailed discussion. I hope you enriched the knowledge, and I hope you've showed ways for people here who are aspiring, to find partners, to at least know the way and the structure, how it works. So thank you very much.
Thank you.